Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to another Wednesday night right here at the crib, and welcome to the Sports Crib. As you can see, well, as soon as I put it down there, anyway. Uh, there we go. Okay. As you can see, it's the Sports Crib, home of the Sports Crib Network. You can subscribe and donate at our Cash App. $sign JK3, and make sure you get on that subscribe and like on our YouTube channel. We're also on Facebook Live. But I see Dave is here, and lo and behold, uh,
Yeah, I know, bro. I'm glad to be back. The midweek work stuff, the travel should be cutting down. So I'm going to be back in the crib a lot more. Good to see you, Mr. O.
Yeah, how's it going? My son just headed over to where you were at
Oh, really?
the other week. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, it gets busy, late Q1, early Q2, but stuff should settle down. My Wednesday should be good. Should be mine again. So yeah, I'm still on the road a little bit, but I'm available tonight. So you're gonna start seeing me more at home.
so, well, it's on a night when Mr. Scott should be here. But
Wow.
then, after I looked at the baseball and I saw that, you know,
Yeah.
so,
He might not want any of
yeah,
this smoke
yeah,
tonight.
yeah,
He might not.
yeah,
I wouldn't even be mad at him. I can't blame him.
yeah. So, I'll understand why he's not here.
The
So,
Vikings done fell apart and baseball team not off to a good start. He's got the Timberwolves though. So
yeah, yeah. But Dave, it's kind of amazing there last week. Well, we'll get to baseball because there's some things happening in Pittsburgh too.
yeah.
After last week. So
Yeah. You guys
uh,
gave us one yesterday. I appreciate it. For the Tiger organization, I thank you for like a 4-run ninth inning. We appreciate it. We needed that one.
so uh, you know, from undisputed. Well, anyway, uh, but Dave, how are things going down there in Maryland?
Doing okay.
Thought he was in
Is
Hawaii for a minute. He's
and
looking very tropical tonight.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Making
I'm
me
ready
crave.
for the warm weather.
Yeah, yeah, making me crave the tropics.
uh, have uh, I was going to ask you about something else, but let's get Sue. Let's talk about Sue's corner. Let's see what Sue has for us.
Yes.
All right. So, Sue's Corner. So she wrote, the Masters Golf Tournament is this weekend. Always a fun and unpredictable sporting event. We've always known Augusta National to be a quirky place with lots of rules, but here is some interesting trivia. And this is for the Masters Golf Now. Number one, no phones are allowed except the pay phones, which, despite your name, are provided free of charge by Augusta National. You will find them on the course at various points. Other electronic devices are also strictly prohibited. Cameras, too, are a no-no, but only on tournament days.
Yeah.
I know that, well, from the U.S. I attended the U.S. Open where you couldn't take your cell phone out there as a spectator. But she continues, two, broadcasters, too, have strict rules about what words they can say. Besides calling the gallery patrons instead of fans, there are plenty of other restrictions. Miss the fairway and players are in the second cut, not the rough. The course has bunkers, not sand traps. There's a first nine and second nine, not a front nine and a back nine. That rule allegedly brought in because the term back nine might remind someone of a backside. Such southern gentility, lots of laughs.
That's great.
Number three, concessions are cheap. The famous pimento cheese sandwich costs $1.50, as does an egg salad sandwich. The iconic Georgia peach ice cream sandwich is $3. although that's gone up this year from $2.50 last tournament. Beers have gone up $1, but are still just $6, including a wheat ale called Crow's Nest that is exclusively brewed for the tournament. 4, a large fence around the property means there's a remarkable lack of animals on the course. A deer has reportedly been spotted once in the club's history, while you'll never see squirrels or the like. Even bugs are rare.
Wow.
We're talking Georgia here.
Yeah.
One of the great mysteries around Augusta is the urban legend that broadcasts of the Masters have used fake bird noises. This has yet to be confirmed, but everyone remarks how there is no birds flying around that they have ever seen. There's also been rumors of them painting the grass greener in spots and coloring the lakes with food coloring to make them look better on TV. These are still under debate, although dye has been found and food coloring was found in tested water.
Nice.
Regardless, it's a great tournament and will be fun to watch and see who wins the green jacket, which they are not allowed to keep but have to return every year, which I didn't know that either. So that's Sue's Corner. You know, I find that kind of fascinating that they have all these rules. And she said when she was like reading about it, even to the point of like, and I forget the player's name, but he had put his cap on backwards.
Oh, that's a no-no. Yeah.
So that they could, you know, he thought because he had a big bill and he thought it would be easier to see his face, and they made him no, you got to wear that front way. So anyway, that's she loves watching golf, and so that's Sue's Corner.
Nice, good stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah, I didn't know that about the green jacket either. I would thought that you know, boy, things must be getting old right now. Somebody is keeping up with the sleeves and whatnot here. No elbows on it. I guess
I don't think it's one jacket, right? I think you have to bring your jacket back and they keep it there. But each year, the new guy gets his own jacket. I just don't think you get to keep your jacket forever. Yeah, next year, when you put a jacket on that guy, you take your jacket off and give it to them, and I think they keep them in a hall.
And you get a trophy, right? Or something.
You get a big check.
Well,
You get a very big check and the notoriety that you won that tournament. Yeah. And that's worth way more than that jacket. I got to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is. Most certainly. Well, guys, as you know, I'm that guy that loves controversy. So I found one again. I found one again. Okay. It seems that the NAIA is banning trans athletes from women's sports. So my question is, what happens to the trans athletes that go the other way? Are they banned from men's sports? I mean, I'm sure, you know, we have professional boxers and you know, in the Olympics now, you know, and I, you know, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I don't see, you know, like Clarissa Shields beating too many men her size. So I'm going to start with you on this, Dave. What do you think? Do you think that ban should go both ways, or what's your thoughts? Or you know, if we see, you know, these things starting where we're starting to ban athletes from certain sports.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a long history of it. I mean, they used to do all the blood tests of and the checks of the East German women to make sure that they were women during the Olympics. You know, that's going back into the 1960s and all that. So that's always, actually, that issue's been there for many, many years. But I kind of like in Maryland, in wrestling, in the sport of wrestling, uh, women's wrestling has been growing by leaps and bounds. University of Iowa has a very good women's wrestling team. Now, in our county in Maryland, the way they do it, and I kind of like this, is that uh, for what was called boys wrestling is considered co-ed wrestling. So a girl has an option. She can wrestle against the boy. Okay. But boys can't wrestle in the girls' league. Now, because it's just a growing sport. So boys wrestling is considered co-ed so that anybody could wrestle in there. And any high school student affiliated with a high school is eligible to wrestle in there. Now, a girl has an option. If the team that they're wrestling has another girl opponent, she can wrestle a girl. And they have a separate girls tournament and a co-ed tournament. And to me, that's the answer, especially in the more martial sports, where the, a trans female is just going to be, especially if they haven't fully transitioned, it's just going to have, in general, a lot more strength. And that's been you've been seeing that happening around the country. They had one game in, I forget if it was Massachusetts, but this one trans athlete knocked 3 girls out of a basketball game. That they had to stop the basketball game because 3 of the girls got hurt, and like from rebounds and stuff like that. And so I kind of like what's being done here in our county. Have the boys sports as co-ed, and if girls want to try to compete in that, they can, which would mean then any trans male or trans female then could compete, but let the girls compete among themselves.
Don, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. I walked in on a hot topic though.
Perfect
Yeah.
timing. Perfect timing.
I have a feeling that Cribbing After Dark will be coming
Start
early.
early. Yeah.
But
Right off the rip. Yeah.
so Demetrius, what's your thoughts on this?
I think I'm very aligned with Dave on this. I think that what I do for a living always becomes about data. There is data that shows that someone born male who transitions has genetics, right, that gives them a competitive advantage. And that's what it is. So I put myself in every shoe of this. If I'm the parent of a young woman, born a woman who's a pretty good athlete, and she loses to something, Don's going to use a different word, but I'm not going to jump to whatever Don wants to call him, but someone born a male who transitioned. How you live your life, be happy. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about fairness in competition. That's what this is. And there is hundreds of years of medical data that tells us that individuals born male who transition have competitive advantage over individuals born female in certain sports, right? I don't think this is something that needs to be balanced because I've seen zero data that says this girl transitioned to a male and she's just crushing the guys. And maybe it exists in some sports. I think it's much. Wrestling is an area where I know of girls who compete with guys, and they can't. There's some sports where that's just not the case, and that's not wrong. That's not immoral. I'm not insulting anyone. I'm talking about facts and data. What I've seen, that's the minute you show me some data that says this person born female who transitioned into to male and has a competitive advantage over the guys born male, then I'll revisit this conversation. I have never seen a case brought to litigation, and there's hundreds of the other way. I've never seen data or any of that. So this isn't even about, this is just common sense stuff. It's not fair. It's just not fair. In some cases, it's not fair and it shouldn't be allowed. So I don't think it shouldn't be hurting anybody's feelings. There shouldn't be any civil rights. None of that's happening. None of that's happening. It's not fair. And if I were the parent of a young girl who worked really hard to become really good at something and a trans guy is killing her, I would not be cool with it. And if that makes me a bad person, fine. I'm still going to drink my Coke and be happy. So it's whatever.
Don, they tell us though that a fair is a place where they judge pigs. I mean, what does that have to do with it? So, what's your thoughts on it, Don?
Look, I'll be simple. If you're born a man, you have no business competing against a woman in athletics. If you're born a woman, you have no business competing a man in athletics. Now, there are certain competitions where they're probably even out. For example, skeet shooting. You know, I went to high school with the state champ female skeet shooter, and she can outshoot me, you know, just about every day. I mean, you know, but you know that's not taking a whole lot of athleticism. That's just have a good eye and can handle a gun well. So things like that. Pull. If one wants to compete against me in pull or darts, I get it. Wrestling, football, swimming, boxing, no. I don't know where this idea came from. It's only been within, I think, last 10 years where, all this trans shit ended up. But I'm not.
See, I told you.
Dude, that was coming. We called it. Come on.
I'm not down with it at all, guys. Not down with it at all.
I think we all agree. I don't even know why it's controversy, actually.
Yeah, I don't have a daughter, but if she were out there, let's say she was a sprinter in track, if she's winning, and all of a sudden this trans shows up and starts blowing out the field, well, you're taking away opportunity from these young ladies. I mean, they've been fighting since the '60s to have Title IX and the freedom to compete and do all that, and you can't have these guys coming in and making a mockery of it. So that's just where I'm at.
All right. Well, like I said, I always like to start off the show with a little controversy, see how everybody, just everybody get their feet wet here.
Well, you got to stir the pot every once in a while, or the stew will get burnt.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
see?
That's a good call. Great analogy.
There you go. All right. So, guys, going to start off with a little Major League Baseball here. It seems like Major League Baseball is plagued with some pitching injuries early in the season. Some pundits say it's the pitch clock. Some blame it on other things. But, Demetrius, you got your black socks on tonight?
Yeah. I saw the thing. I put on 2 pair because I knew we were hitting a couple of baseball topics. So, yeah, I'm ready. I think it's a combination of things. I'm going to get a real old man right now and just tell you kids are soft these days. They're soft. I mean, Denny McClain fits 31 games. And I'm going to say 68 or something like that. These guys would throw more innings and more games. Now, the truth is this, all jokes aside, some of it is conditioning, and teams handle their pitching staffs differently. In spring training specifically, the term they use is stretch them out, how they stretch a guy out. I think that the propensity of these injuries in June and July will be different. There is a degree of it that's weather related in a cold weather city. So there's a whole bunch of factors that happen, but also guys throw harder and they're throwing way more curveballs. These are the things that injure your elbow. I mean, guys they're throwing in the hundreds routinely. And when you do that in June, your body is conditioned now. It knows you're throwing every 5th day, but now back in the day, old man statement, right? It was structured, right? A closer could pitch 3 innings if he needed to. His arm was conditioned to go 3 innings if he needed to. You got these guys now, just they're 1-inning guys. Their arms can't throw more than 12 or 15 pitches because of the way they throw, the pitches they're throwing, and they're just not doing it. A closer today will generally pitch an inning and a third, maybe, like in a special situation, they'll bring him back. Most of these guys, there's guys specifically who pitch 1 innings, 2-inning guys. There's guys who will pitch to 2 batters. And if you're doing that every 3rd day, your body doesn't build that conditioning, right? So there's a degree of, on the joke side, they're softer, but it's really it's some change to the game, how they use pitchers, how they stretch them out in spring training. You see a lot of these in April every year, quite frankly, and it doesn't surprise me. I don't know if the pitch clock has anything to do with it. I would look at the data, and I have not. I would be shocked if it's up significantly from any other first 4 weeks of baseball type of statistics. I think it's early, it's cold, and guys are a little soft. I'll put it that way.
Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think Demetrius is on. I agree with him. And I was talking to some friends that were in Florida, and it was pretty cold down there.
Exactly.
And so, and that's usually they're down south to enjoy the warm weather, to get their body in condition, and especially pitching, more than anything. And I'm just wondering if it's more attributable to the weather. I don't see how the pitch clock would affect it. I think the number of pitches is a bigger factor than the time between the pitches.
Yep.
And just because they have a pitching clock does not mean that pitchers are automatically throwing more balls.
Yeah, they're not.
So I don't think it's the pitch clock. I think it's other factors like the weather, and have they loosened up their arms yet?
Yeah.
And, that's my thought anyway.
Don, what do you mean the weather? They're having earthquakes in New Jersey. What are you talking about? What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, earthquakes, eclipses, everything, right? We're looking for reasons to explain all this. It could just be a coincidence, I mean, things happen. Funnier things than that. I mean, it just could be just bad luck. But I think all the reasons being presented are feasible. I mean, it is a little bit colder in some areas than it usually is this time of year. The pitch clock hasn't been used. It's still fairly recent, so maybe there hasn't been some studies on the effect of wear and tear of the rotator cuff. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor or medical professional, but I just think that there could be all kind of reasons. Conditioning is one of them, of course, but every year something happens in baseball, they'll say, well, there's more home runs being hit, or and so they always try to find an explanation. Well, people were juicing up for the most part, so
right.
Yeah, you had McGuire and Bonds, and who was the other one?
Sosa,
yeah. So it happens.
There was a time though where they tightened the baseballs. They admitted it later, but there was a time where they literally had the stitching on the baseball. Major League Baseball did it on purpose to increase home runs. And there's nothing illegal or wrong or anything that they can't do. So, but they've admitted it. But I think I think Don might be right. This might be coincidence.
Wasn't there a scandal where they were putting the baseballs in microwave before the game? Or am I just pulling that out of my ass?
I think you got that from like a movie or something. I've never
They've
heard.
probably tried everything now.
Well, yeah. Major League Baseball has admitted that they tightened the stitching on balls at one point. They actually, I don't know, they didn't say they did it on purpose. They went to a different supplier, and then they went back and looked at the data, and the stitching was different. But that, they were in trouble at one point and needed to bring fans back. So Chicks Dig the Long Ball had to happen. So.
Good evening, Mr. Scott. How are you doing this evening?
Scott.
Very good, gentlemen. Very good. Very
Good to
good.
see you.
I see that there's a person that's very conspicuous. Usually it's Demetrius who's very conspicuous by his absence, because that's why I come in at different times.
Right.
So that people can't time my appearances.
Exactly.
And the gentleman from Georgia seems to be now. He's ducking. He seems to be ducking now. So
yeah, that's great. Pick on Reggie. I love
had
it.
something for him. But that's fine, gentlemen. It's great to to join you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Always good. Always good.
You'll be able to ride me over the next couple of weeks because I'm going to be gone for a couple of weeks.
So
Put that on your calendar.
Yeah, we'll talk stuff about Dave next week. Gentleman from Maryland, what's going on in Maryland?
Dave, where are you going again?
Tunisia.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. See.
Wow.
When
That's why
Dave,
he's dressed like that. He's getting ready.
when Dave goes away or Don goes away, they go away. They don't, they don't just go down to the next little town. Or
I know.
something.
I go to St. Louis and Indianapolis. This guy goes to Tunisia. It's great.
So, Mr. Scott, I'm going to backtrack a little bit here because I want to hear your thoughts on this too. What do you think about the NAIA bans transgenders from women's sports? Do you think that should cut both ways?
You sure you want to hear from me on this?
See, that's why he came in late. He didn't want to do this one.
Well, no, I think, really, Don has explained that. Don, if he was here a few weeks ago, Don laid the law down on what that was all about. But, so, I mean, I just think, there's an old song, and it's funny by the name of the group. It was called Dyke and the Blazers.
Oh, nice. Nice.
And the song was, let a woman be a woman, let a man be a man.
Yeah.
And so I just, I defer to Don on that.
You're right. You kept
Don laid the law down on it.
Yeah, Demetrius missed that one, but but it was in Don's Texas style, so that's all I have to say about that. So we were talking about Major League Baseball, Mr. Scott, and we were talking about all the pitchers' injuries right here out of the gate, and some people were blaming it on the pitch clock. For one thing, what's your thought on all these early injuries? Well,
it's interesting that, today I get together with some of my colleagues from my college, and they wanted to meet at a place downtown Minneapolis. But the people that set it up didn't realize that the Dodgers was in town for an afternoon game. And I really wanted to go see Mr. Ohtani. That's really what my plan was to do. So, and then he's injured. He can't pitch. Now, he's supposed to be pitching and batting, but he's not going to pitch this year. He's just going to be batting in $700 million. And that almost circles back to Demetrius talking about the betting on the games, because now there's some kind of brouhaha going about Mr. Ohtani and his translator, which is, nobody's speaking English. See, so nobody really knows what's going on. See, nobody speaks English, and Ohtani knows nothing about it. He doesn't know anything about it. But as far as the injuries early on, boy, and giving these pitchers all this money, and they want them to keep throwing triple digits, 100 miles an hour. Where's the guy? Where's Wilbur Wood? Where's Wilbur Knuckleball? Where are these people that can get you out? It's not about the speed. It's about location. And so I think this is going to be a trend, that there's just going to be these injuries because they want everybody to throw 100 miles an hour.
Boy, Mr. Scott put on his black socks.
I love it when he comes in and agrees with what I said 15 minutes ago. I was saying the same thing. They're trying to throw hard and throwing all these crazy pitches that your arm's not designed to do. And nobody can throw more than one inning now. Relief pitcher throws to one batter and he's gone. Tell them guys should throw complete games. Bob Gibson threw 26 complete games in one season. It's ridiculous.
And there were so many guys, workhorses that were on teams back then.
Yes.
Everybody had a workhorse. Everybody, Jim Bunning, Jim Palmer, all those guys on Baltimore, they just had 4 starters.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's all he
What
needed.
was it? Buddy, McNally and Palmer,
Yep.
Cuellar. That's all they had.
Pat Dobson. That
Yeah,
was the fourth
exactly.
one of those 20
Yep.
game winners.
But Don, there's an exception to every rule. We had this young kid down here in Houston. Let's see, what was his name? Mr. Rondell Blanco. He threw the season's first no hitter, and the boy threw what 16 innings. Don, what's going on with your Astros?
Well, that the Astros they started off the season a little shaky, but they're going to be okay. A lot of baseball to be played. They're a good solid team. So the Rangers, they're solid too. So I hate talking a whole lot of baseball this early in the season, but if things continue where they are, I think we'll have both Texas teams in the playoffs. We should anyway.
And Dusty's gone too, right? Dusty's not down there anymore.
No.
Dave, the last time we talked, the Pirates were undefeated, and we were talking, what was going on, and now the last I hear, the Pirates blew a 3-run ninth inning. They're talking about what's his name, Bezo,
Bednar.
the young kid. What's going on there in the Berg, Dave?
Well, they were 5-0 when we talked last Wednesday. They'd played that Wednesday night game in Washington, and then they had their home opener the next day. They had to travel back to Pittsburgh after playing Wednesday night to play Baltimore in Pittsburgh when they were already down here.
They were in DC.
So I mean, that was a crazy scheduling thing to me. But they've gone 4-3 after opening up 5-0. Bednar's blown three appearances where he's come in, and his ERA's ballooned like to 12.96. He was being interviewed, but I got to say, there was a first baseman, Rowdy Tellez, that kind of came up during his interview and just said, hey, he's going to be okay. He's our guy. Gave him like a big vote of confidence. And Bednar says, hey, sometimes this happens. Just have to work through it. It's a long season. And I think that's what Don was talking about that. And we talked a little bit about that last week, where, until you start approaching the All-Star break, you're not going to have a real good sense of the season. I don't think, but we'll see. They're 9-3 right now, and what I've said all along is how's their pitching going to hold up, and where they've lost the games is their relief pitching didn't hold up. So they had a lead going into the ninth inning, right? So we'll see. I'm happy that they've had this nice start. I don't expect it to hold all season though.
Mr. Scott, the last time we talked, you were afraid of your pitching staff, and lo and behold, it has been what you said it was going to be. So the last I looked, you guys had just got beat by the Tigers. So I'm going to let Demetrius gloat for a minute here while you talk about your Twins.
No. We haven't played the Twins yet. We beat the Pirates. Yeah. We haven't played the Twins yet.
Yeah, the Twins play, like I say, the Dodgers were in town. In the Monday night game, it was so cold. Oh man, it was terrible cold weather. But then it just changed right away. And today, I think the Twins lost. Or no, they won. I think they won 3-2 because I was at the restaurant watching it. And the pitcher for the Twins that had pitched the last time, he got blown out in the first inning of his last start. So, I mean, there's no way. See, this is where we get to the betting thing. See, there's no way I would have took him to beat the Dodgers. There's no way I would have took him. And he pitches a great game, and the Twins win. I think it was 3-2. They beat the Dodgers in the third game of the series. We're as the gentleman said, we're at the beginning of the season. So we kind of have to see how this plays out with injuries. And the Twins, the very first game, they lost one of their top players, Royce Lewis.
Yep.
He went out right away. And so he's going to be out for, I don't know, a month or so. And he was really coming on, really looking good. Buxton is back playing healthy in center field. So I like the Twins to make some noise. And plus, it's going to go back to the old thing of this division. We'll just knock off Chicago, Kansas City, Detroit. We won't have no problem with any of those teams. Those teams are just floundering.
Floundering.
Detroit has what Torkelson. He seems to be one guy, but he's been 220. So
he was doing fine, and then he made that left turn and just messed up everything. I'm just going to jump in. The Twins are going to be fine. Baseball is a long season. You don't even start to think about it until 40 games. You don't even start to evaluate where your team is until 40 games. I would not. When the Tigers were 6-1, I told all my friends, we're not that team. That's nice. But we swept the White Sox and took 2 out of 3 from the Mets. I know what's happening. We're 7-4 right now. It's nice. We got a Cy Young type guy at the top of the rotation. He's really good. His name's Tarek Skubal. But Mr. Scott's right. We got a kid named Riley Green, who's going to be a really good player. Torkelson's really good. Javi Baez is an anchor on our payroll, an anchor on our batting lineup. He's an anchor. Javi Baez was a horrible signing, and he's killing us, right? But our team is young. We're a year ahead of schedule. I'm going to really, really love the Tigers next year. Whatever happens this year is kind of butter, but I'm open and honest enough to say the Twins and the Guardians are the class of the Central. Those are the 2 teams that should be fighting out at the end. We're going to be 500, maybe a little better, because we're young. Our staff is full of young guys. We got a couple veterans, but we're building our team around getting on base. Our team OPS is so much better than it was last year. We're going to get on base, but they're not extra base hits. They're singles and walks, and that's going to hold us back. And we have a guy at the top of the rotation, and we have another really good guy behind him, and then our staff. Kenta Maeda, I don't know what Kenta Maeda is yet. I don't know what Kenta Maeda is yet.
Boy, if he's healthy, before he got hurt, before he had all those injuries, I tell you, he was.
If we get pre-injury Kenta Maeda, we can make some noise. He will be that third pitcher that'll get us there. But I think the Tigers are a year ahead of schedule. So I'm going to enjoy this summer. I'm going to be cool because they're going to be around. They're going to play some good games. But a healthy Guardian team, a healthy Twins team should be the teams that are at the top of the division. And I'm cool with us finishing third. 5-6 games back because I know what's coming up. I know 3 kids in the farm system that might get up this year, but they'll definitely be up next year. And so that's going to open the window for a Tiger team that's going to be good for 3 or 4 years after that. But yeah, he's Torkelson is a name to remember, though. I'm glad he remembered that name because that dude's going to make some noise.
Okay, guys. Well,
good baseball spot, man. I love it. We did like a half hour in baseball, man. That's awesome.
Well, hey, the draft is coming up pretty soon, and after the draft, we'll have to be talking baseball. So we might as well. Exactly. I might as well get used to it. You guys love it, So
well, did Don say anything about Houston and Diggs and?
We haven't gotten to football yet. We haven't gotten to football.
Oh, okay.
We're getting there. Yeah,
we're just talking about baseball.
I want to hear that. I want to hear what's.
That's interesting. I mean, it's very interesting.
All right, well, let's get through to these, and then we can get down to those. So we all know that we just had the title game for the NCAA women's title. Caitlin Clark and the Hawkeyes fall to the undefeated Gamecocks. The Gamecocks finished the season 38-0, making history by having the first team since 2000 to win a title without having a single returning starter. So I asked this question before the game, guys. Did Caitlin have to win a national title in order to be the GOAT? Dave, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, the thing is she the greatest of all time when she wasn't able to help her team defeat South South Carolina? And it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of like Dan Marino. He was a great quarterback. He was a great quarterback. He might have been the best quarterback ever throwing. He was a better passer than Tom Brady ever was. But you can't call him the greatest of all time because he was never able to help his team win a Super Bowl. So I think that's kind of and right now we're just talking college, right? So she's just finishing college. You know, maybe in the WNBA, maybe she'll have an opportunity to set herself apart. But I don't see it because she wasn't able to help her team prevail.
What do you say there, Mr. Scott?
Regarding
Caitlin Clark. Everybody was talking about, when she broke Pete Maravich's record and all that, and I
well,
asked,
the
you know,
girls they played an interesting game. I mean, I've watched their games. I think they play a great game, but again, it's still girls. I mean, I think the 3-point is a little bit shorter, isn't it? Isn't the ball a little different that they play with? I mean, correct
yeah,
me if I'm wrong.
No,
yeah,
yeah,
the ball is different. I'm not sure about the 3-point line, but
it
I know
is.
the ball is different.
It's shorter than the guys. Yeah,
Okay.
but
Yeah,
even
and
amongst the women,
it's just a different game all the way around, and so they're talking about her maybe go to the NBA, that she was so you hear all these pundits talk about all those foolishness, but yeah, she should be a great pro. I mean, I think that's a good thing. I think women's basketball. I actually went to my first game in Phoenix, and I think Reggie Miller's sister was the coach, and I happened to be there, and they played at the Phoenix Stadium. It was packed. I mean, there was people, and this is in the summertime, and it's 110 degrees outside in July in Phoenix. And so I think it's a good thing, but it's a different game. It's not the same thing. And so that's just my opinion on it. I'm not degrading it or anything like that. I'm just saying it's a different game.
yeah.
What do you think, Don?
Oh, I think Caitlin Clark is one of the greatest players I've seen, men or women, as far as just pure ability and all that. But she would not be doing that against the guys in the NBA. I think she'll be great in the drafts her is going to get a great player. I think she's the type of team you can build around. I know a lot of people were talking about, her and Reese, being the new Bird and Magic, but that they could translate to the W. If it does, that's great. I think that the WNBA needs a spark or something. I did read today where it's very possible she'll be making a pay cut. Playing the WNBA as opposed to the NIL. So that's kind of interesting that she'll be taking a pay cut, but hey, it is what it is, as they say. But I think she's a phenomenal player, and I look forward to watching her in the future.
Demetrius.
So first of all, you're going to get this every time you do this. There's only one GOAT. There's only ever been one GOAT, and he's on my T-shirt. Don't call anybody else the GOAT. I hate it when we do that. There's one GOAT ever, and that's him. So now, set that aside. Is she the greatest women's basketball player of all time? Answer's no. And some of that time old. I know who Lynette Woodard is, right? Mr. Scott mentioned Cheryl Miller. I saw Cheryl Miller play, and I saw Cheryl Swoops, and I don't even have to go, oh man. I will introduce you to Diana Taurasi, who's still in the league right now. I'll talk to you about Breonna Stewart and Maya Moore or Candace Parker or Lisa Leslie.
You better
She's
not
really.
be swim cash out of
I
there.
ain't really swim cash, right? Playing
Yeah,
for the Detroit
yeah.
NBA WNBA team.
Maya
If
Moore,
Maya Moore,
Lindsay Whalen.
exactly. Don't and if I really wanted to go back, I could talk to you about Nancy Lieberman. I could go real crazy if I want to, but I'm not going to do that. There should be in some cases, in most cases, do a Mount Rushmore. Stop trying to say the GOAT. I tell you, there's only one GOAT, first of all. But stop the GOAT stuff and go Mount Rushmore. But even then, she's not on my Mount Rushmore either. Because like I said, I saw Cheryl Miller play basketball. And she was really good. Lynette Woodard, Cheryl Swoops was dominant. And can she score? Yeah. She's a good passer too. There's a lot more to the game of basketball than that. I mean, Brittany Griner was unstoppable, like in college, and we'll see what she does in the pros. I just think that she has not done anything in her time that says to me, Breonna Stewart has like 3 rings, by the way. If rings don't matter, okay, but when I look at what she's done, it's cool. We're in an era of social media. She's getting ratings. All that stuff is great. If you want to ask me if she's one of the greatest women's basketball players of all time with 2 pairs of black socks, I say hell no. And I just ripped off like 10 names that I think you could make a real argument that are as good or better than her. Maya Moore was unbelievable. Lisa Leslie was unstoppable. Shamiqua Hoseclaw. I could just keep dropping names that at minimum you got to go back and look at Tamika Catchings. You got to
But
look
it's a
at
different game. But it's
I
it's
know.
different than the
You're right.
NBA. It's not the same as NBA. And then you got the trans. No, I'm gonna let Don talk about that.
Don's
I'm not
already
gonna touch
told
it.
us.
I'm not gonna touch it. I'm just saying, I mean, there's that's
If
not
you
my
just look at
territory.
college careers, go look at Tamika Catchings' college career at Tennessee. Go look at what Brittany Griner did at Baylor. Go look at what Diana Taurasi did at UConn. Go just their college stats. I didn't even mention Sue Bird. I'm forgetting people, and they're coming to mind. I'm like, oh, I can name 10 people that I can make a legit argument. If I'm building a WNBA team, if I'm building a women's college team, and you let me draft any, I probably have 8 or 10 people I take before her.
Well, it's like Fred Sanford was talking to Bubba, and they went to the club, and Fred went.
Right. Right. She's good. And all that's it. She's a great player. And she draws numbers. She's making money. I'm happy for her. Don't use the word GOAT anyway, but damn sure don't use it about her. Sorry. There's some really good women's college players out there.
I'm going to stick with you on this next one here, Demetrius. UConn wins its second March Madness men's final. Your thoughts? Did you get a chance to watch that game?
I did. I saw a lot of it, and I got to say, and I don't generally do this because I'm of the opinion most sports players make plays and players don't make plays, and they impact. We're gonna have to start talking about Dan Hurley in a certain kind of way, and I don't have any. I didn't like his brother at Duke, but their dad was a great coach. His brother is actually good. He's got something going there. And they're not going away. That's an impressive thing to do in the age of NIL, one and dones, to back to back. It's such an impressive feat that I mostly just want to talk about the coaching job because it's hard to coach college kids today. Big time college athletes today with NIL and all the options that they have, the one and done stuff to get these guys to buy in to a team concept the way Dan Hurley has. For me, the biggest takeaway is that's hard to do. There's not a lot of guys. Tom Izzo is on my Mount Rushmore favorite all-time people, right? Tom Izzo's a great coach. Michigan State hasn't won 2 titles, period, much less back-to-back. Calipari, Pitino, these guys winning back-to-back. It now, it's so hard to do that. My overwhelming thought is, man, kudos to Dan Hurley for the job he did.
Dave.
Yeah, I think it was a huge accomplishment. I got to admit, I had picked Houston to win it all, but I had Connecticut in the Final Four. That was the only team I picked to be in the Final Four. But I think to Demetrius's point, when you look at all the upsets that there were in this 64, the parity and the level of play throughout the country is pretty amazing, and I think it makes it even harder I mean, John Wooden was all time.
Yeah.
Talk about great coaches, but I think he had an easier path to get those 10 championships, right? And with the parity that they have today, just to get to back, I think is pretty amazing. And then along with, how do you keep a team together?
Yeah.
So, because it's not, I don't think it's good enough just to have 3 or 4 blue chip. Hey, these guys are going to be NBA players. You have to have a bench in order to sustain that through the 64, 32-man bracket that they're starting out with.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite an accomplishment.
What do you think, Mr. Scott?
Well, college basketball. I guess I'm kind of curious as to how the great Purdue Zach Edey is going to do in the NBA. I mean, size matters, but one of my sons played on a really good team in the suburbs. 6'4", he was a point. I mean, under the basket type guy, and they had another guy that was 7 foot, and my son played before he got in the game. So the 7 foot guy gets in, gets a rebound, and just stands there, doesn't know what to do. And my son just takes the ball out of his hand and dunks it. So I'm interested to see how Zach Edey, is he going to be a Sean Bradley? Is he going to be Manute Bol? Is he going to be George Mirasan? Is he going to be an oddity? So I'm very curious because I watched him as a freshman, and they had to take him out at the end of games because he couldn't make free throws.
Yep.
But he's really progressed where he's a good postman, but the NBA doesn't play that way anymore.
Yeah.
They don't play with the guy under the basket.
Yeah.
They, I mean, all these guys, I mean, Antifermo and all these big guys, Towns, they shoot threes. I mean, Gobert is probably the only one that just plays under the basket. So I'm curious to see how he's going to do and where he's going to go in the NBA draft.
Well, Gobert got paid, didn't he? So
he's good at what he does. I mean, he does basic stuff. I mean, he's
protector, defender, shot
blocker. See, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I remember when that trade was made, and Mr. Scott, I mean, he did everything but call Gobert a child of God. But now, he's kind of reconciled to Gobert, and I guess Towns will be back pretty soon, but we'll talk about that when we get down.
When Towns come back, it's a done deal. We got this. I'm getting my tickets and all this stuff. Towns gets back. We got this. I mean, it's
Don, what was your thoughts about UConn, and then how were you impressed with your guys from Texas?
So UConn. I mean, they played a very a tough game. I mean, they went out and they had their mission. They made their baskets. They made their free throws. They did everything that you need to do to win. And hats off to them. I had actually had Purdue in my Final Four, but hey, that's neither here nor there. But you asked about Texas. What?
No, I was asking you about how surprised or pleased were you with Texas' performance for the tournament?
Well, Texas. They, I was just surprised they even got in. They had a strong tournament showing that helped out, but what Texas doesn't have is depth. Once they get depth, they'll be fine. I think they got 2 Parade All-American. 2 McDonald All-Americans coming in on campus next year, so hopefully that helps. They'll probably get some portal guys, but they were. They just had a very weak bench, and in order to be successful, in a tournament setting, you got to have number 6, number 7, number 8 coming off the bench to help, and Texas just didn't have it.
Yeah. But but like you said, they got in, and it seems like Texas is making that play. Are they playing in SEC basketball, Don?
Next year they'll start SEC.
All right.
Texas SEC starts in August with football, and then after that it's all SEC, all sports.
Okay. I put this out to you guys on the phone. So Don and Dave, Reggie it was also part of that conversation, but he's not here. But guys, Bronny, it seems, is entering the portal. Bronny averaged 4.8 points a game in 19 and a half minutes. Is this more of an indication that LeBron is retiring soon, Demetrius?
No, he cut out here just a minute ago.
He's ducking, he's
Well, go ahead, Dave. You were part of that conversation.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe I mean I guess we've talked before about LeBron maybe wanting to play in the NBA with his son, and will that happen? But the way I look at it is as a father, there's Demetrius. We're talking about Bronny.
Yeah.
And LeBron.
No, go ahead, Dave. Finish yours, and then we'll go to Demetrius.
Yeah, and looking at it as a dad, I mean, I feel bad for the kid. I mean, he's following an all-time great basketball player, and the pressures on him to Matt. He's always going to be compared to his dad. And the way I look at it as a father, I don't want my kids to follow my path. That's my path. You follow your path. And if Bronny if this is what he wants to do, then so be it. But if he's just doing it for his dad, no, I don't agree with that. I don't like the idea of cloning little, kids and living vicariously through them. So, yeah, does it indicate that LeBron might be retiring soon? Yeah, I mean he's already indicated the desire to play in the NBA with his son, and if his son wants to do that, great. But let the kid live his own life is what I'm saying, and the fans should allow that too. Because I think that they pile on a lot of pressure because he's always going to be compared to his dad on the basketball court.
What do you think, Demetrius?
Yeah, I was in the waiting room. I was never ducked, you, Mr. Scott, for the record. I heard what you said. I heard every word, bro. No, Dave covered it. I think it's grossly unfair to the kid, but Senior has said multiple times he would retire. He wanted an opportunity to play with his son. We can be honest, because we all friends here. Kid ain't good enough to play in the league. I'm sorry. He's just not. But none of that matters because of everything Dave said. A team will draft him because they think they can get Senior, and they'll take a 41-year-old senior for 1 year just for ticket sales. They'll suit them both up and put them on the floor and don't care how many games you win because you're going to sell a whole bunch of tickets. You suit up both of them, and I'm telling you, I don't care what Mr. Scott says when I'm done. My Detroit Pistons might be willing to do that shit. I'm just being honest. We that bad.
I'm going to debunk that. I'm going to debunk that. If I get an opportunity, I will debunk that.
I'm kind of done. I think Dave covered it all. I just think it is unfair to the kid. But Senior has said he wants to play a year with his son. So you got one more year of Senior, and then he's retiring. And wherever his son goes, I think Senior's going to go sign with him. Or the Lakers are going to trade up and draft the kid with the second pick or some nonsense like that. But that's what it is.
Go ahead, Mr. Scott.
Yeah, I want to debunk that. What LeBron should do is send that young man to Harvard or Yale Law School and have him run his businesses. That's what he should do, because basketball is not in his future. And, my son, when he played AAU, he played against Kevin McHale's son, Flip Saunders' son, and Kevin would be at the games. He would, because he was really into he coached and he And so my buddy said, watching Kevin's son play, he said, you know what? I think he should play hockey instead of basketball because he's not going to be, he's not going to be Kevin McHale. And so, yeah, as Dave was saying, hey, that's what if LeBron was, to me, send him to Harvard or Yale Law School and let him run his businesses. I think that would be the smartest move for the family.
But the sad part, and I think this was Dave's point, if that kid's name was Anthony Scott Jr., not LeBron James Jr., he'd probably play 4 years in college, be a nice, solid college player, get a degree, probably be a lawyer running somebody's business, right? And the only reason this is the topic is because of his dad's name, and that's sad, man. That's
precisely. How many kids are we going to talk about that's averaging 4.8 points a game? All right, but Don, give us the last thought on this.
Yeah, so I think Bronny would be, he's a guy that would have to benefit from a system consistently for a full 5 years, and I'm talking about a red shirt probably there. But he's not NBA material right now. I'm not saying he'll never be, because some guys just develop, like Dennis Rodman developed, from I think really late. And so I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but he's the kind of guy that might have to go to play in Europe or something like that before he gets to the NBA or one of the development leagues we have. But he's not, as we speak right now, he is not NBA material. And
No.
I think people will, like you said, it'll sell tickets, go watch him play, especially if he's with his dad. I saw something like that at UT when Nolan Ryan was pitching for the Rangers. They had an exhibition. His son Reed Ryan was pitching for Texas, but Reed Ryan was not Nolan Ryan. I mean, it just was not. That was not meant to be. And you know what? Reed Ryan now is an executive in Major League Baseball. He runs the Round Rock Express, which is 3A, a AAA affiliate there at north of Austin, and so he's doing a good job. And maybe that's what LeBron needs to do, or LeBron needs to do is go, like I say, go to law school and get that degree, and get management. Would be great.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. We've seen, a lot of, because your name is Junior does not mean that you inherit, your father's talents. A lot
Mavis Frazier.
Yeah. What was the little Sphinx?
Michael.
No. I'm talking about his son.
Michael's son?
His son, the one that Canine beat for the championship. But like just because your name is Junior doesn't mean that you are a junior. So, let's move on here, guys, and get to our final topic of the night here, and that was the NFL, where everybody's been waiting for. I'm going to start with you here, Dave. When do you think is going to be the first non-quarterback picked? Not who, but what pick?
Yeah, that's a fun question, because the other week we were talking about whether there would be 4 quarterbacks picked with the first 4 picks, right?
Right.
And with the teams that are there currently, there might be one that doesn't want, but then they might be tempted to trade with somebody that does. But I think what we're going to learn is the difference between what the drafting pundits' evaluation of these quarterbacks are and what the NFL general managers' evaluations of what these quarterbacks are. And do we get 4 quarterbacks picked in the first 5 or 6 rounds? Like, it has been kind of like been churning around there. I don't think so. I could see maybe 2, and I bet you somebody says, hey, we got to build up our offensive line or defensive line, and probably as early as the 3rd round, we could see a non-quarterback selected.
You mean the 3rd pick, not the 3rd round?
Or 3rd pick, right. Thank you. 3rd pick. So
okay.
We'll see. It'll be interesting, but it'll be interesting to see where these quarterbacks fall, because even like 2 years ago when Kenny Pickett went in the 1st round, well, actually, if Pittsburgh had not selected him, you wouldn't have had any quarterbacks picked in the 1st round. Just 2 years ago. We'll see how this crop does. But so 3rd round, or 3rd pick.
Mr. Scott, when do you think the first non-quarterback is going to be picked?
Boy, I think they're going to be shuffling the deck, because they're saying that the Bears is going to take the consensus number 1 guy. And he's the guy that paints his nails and, does all kinds. So I wouldn't take him. That's just my thing. I wouldn't take the man. I'm going to paint his nails and all that foolishness. So there's going to be some shuffling of the deck. I know the Vikings for sure want a quarterback, and they made the trade with, was it Houston? I think it was with Houston to move up in the draft. I can't call it right now. There's 4 quarterbacks that everybody seems to like. I don't want the fingernail polish guy. And so it's going to be a lot of shuffling. It's been a lot of movement. It's, they want to pay people. They're, salary caps. It's just a hodgepodge. So you can't really put your finger on it.
So do you think it's going to be after the first 4 picks or during the first 4 picks? I'll make you.
Boy, I don't know. If there's a defender, if there's somebody, an Aaron Donald type, but I don't know if there is someone like that. The consensus is it's quarterbacks, and so I'm going to go with that. And I think there'll be some maneuvering. I know the Vikings want a quarterback, so.
And you got 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, so they could make a move and move into that top 4, and but I just don't want the fingernail guy. I don't want that.
Don, what's your thoughts here?
Well, who's the fingernail guy?
Caleb Williams.
Caleb.
The quarterback
USC
USC.
Quarterback, the consensus number 1 guy.
Yeah, but I've never noticed his fingernails, so maybe I'm missing something. But,
I've heard the story that he paints his nails, but he can throw a football, so I don't really give a damn about what color.
He paints his fingernails black, I believe, Don. I believe it's good. Yeah.
Well, if he paints his toenails, then we got a problem. Okay.
Don't lay it out. See, yeah.
So, what was the question? The first non-quarterback taken?
Yeah. When do you think the first non-quarterback is going to be taken?
It'll be. I'm trying to think, because a lot of teams need offensive line. That's for sure. Defensive line.
The first 4 are Chicago, Washington, New England, and Arizona. But remember, you could have trades.
The first 4 right now.
Yeah,
those are the first 4 right now, but subject to change.
Right.
And Arizona doesn't really need a quarterback, I don't think. I think they're going to stick with their guy.
Well, yeah, but they might trade out to somebody, to your Vikings, for instance, that do need a quarterback.
Yes. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
Mr. Scott's team moves into the top 5.
Okay, so
I can see I can see Arizona taking a D lineman probably, but I just running backs aren't a premium like they used to be. Wide receivers are hot still.
don't forget there's Marvin Harrison Jr. up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I'd hate to pick just one person, but
no, I don't want you to pick the person. I just want you to know whether you think that somebody's going to be picked. The first four are all going to be quarterbacks. Do you think, like Dave, somebody's going to trade up to number 3 and maybe get a lineman or a wide receiver?
I think there will be a defensive lineman taken before, 4 quarterbacks are taken.
Oh, okay. You said defensive lineman, huh? Okay.
Yes.
Dave, was your third pick an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, or what?
Lineman.
Lineman?
It would be based on the need of that team.
Okay.
Like if it were the Steelers, I would say it would be an offensive lineman.
Okay.
But each team has their own needs, but lineman is a safe bet because the trenches are always hard to fill.
There's a trio of really good offensive linemen sitting there. Kid from Oregon State, kid from Notre Dame. There's 3 tackles that everybody believes are NFL ready, and there's 2 receivers that people think are can't miss between Neighbors and Harrison. So I think the answer to your question is the 5th pick. I think 4 quarterbacks are going. I think Mr. Scott's team is going to trade up. I actually think the Patriots are going to stay at 3 and draft a quarterback. And then I think the Vikings are going to move up to 4, probably take the kid out of Michigan. I think the 5th pick is going to be offensive lineman. There's a tackle out of Oregon. I think his name is Talise Fuaga. And they have him and Joe Alt out of Notre Dame, like 1 and 1A. There's an edge guy that's really good, but then you got Neighbors and Harrison. So my answer is it's the 5th pick, and I'll go so far as to say it'll be Joe Alt out of Notre Dame at 5. Okay. Yeah, I'll be ballsy and give you a name because there's 3 tackles there. I'm talking left tackle, anchor of your offensive line type dudes that are right there, and they won't get to 10. They won't get to 10. Between those 3 tackles, that edge rusher whose name escapes me, and those 2 receivers, I think that's the back half of your top 10. But I think the first 4 are quarterbacks.
Okay. Demetrius, there are 12 new helmets to be offered to players in the 2024 season. 8 are position specific to quarterback, offensive line, and defensive line. 6 perform so well that players wearing them will be exempt from wearing those ridiculous Guardian caps in practice. What's your thoughts here, Demetrius?
I will start with a quote from my grandmother. Her name was Mary, wonderful woman. And we're after dark, right? Yeah.
Dom is after dark soon as
It's about goddamn time. Is what I will say to that. I think that I rip this league consistently on money grabs like streaming and games overseas and all the other shit they do to get money. And I've said sometimes in jest, sometimes dead serious, they don't give a damn about player safety. This I have to give them credit. I got to be honest and say, you know what? I love this. For a league that will do anything for $1, I love this. My thoughts are that simple. This is long overdue. This technology's been around, but this is a legitimate step toward a tangible thing that this league is doing to say we care about the safety of the human beings playing our game. So all I can say is, it's about time, but I will say kudos because I rip them on all the other stuff. So I got to man up and give them credit right here. This is cool.
What do you think, Dave?
Well, here's the thing: is with the Guardian caps, they're requiring them to wear them for a large part of the training camp.
Yep.
But then on the other hand, they're saying, "Oh, well, we don't have enough information on them to allow players that want to wear them in a regular season game."
Yeah.
But now you have 12 new helmets. Then how much testing have they done? on all those.
Well, that's actually a
in-game
good point.
conditions,
Yeah.
like
I assume they tested them. That's a good point.
but with the Guardian caps, now it's been a couple of years, and they say, oh well, we still need to collect more information. And I think what it is they don't look good. It's optics. They don't look good on TV.
They can't sell them, right? Exactly.
And there are players like I think like Pat Fryermuth, he would wear a Guardian helmet. These guys that have had a couple concussions and stuff like that. And if they want to wear them, I think that they should be able to wear the Guardian helmets in addition to these 12 new helmets that I don't know what kind of, all of a sudden they just announced it. Oh, well, we got all these helmets. Well, where's all the and maybe they have tested them. Let me give them the benefit of the doubt.
I hope so. Yeah, I assume.
But it is a good move. But if they're requiring players to wear the Guardian helmet in training camp, there must be a reason. They believe that it's reducing injuries. And if that's the case, if a player wants to wear them during the regular season, then they should be allowed. And don't give us this bullshit of, oh, well, we're still collecting data on them.
Yeah.
And then come out with an announcement like this. So that's my thought.
Where you at, Don?
Repeat the question again. I was reading some emails. I'm sorry.
12 new helmets. 6 are position specific. 8 are position specific to quarterback, offensive line, and D line. 6 perform so well that players wearing them will be exempt from wearing the Guardian caps in practice.
Well, that sounds kind of complicated, but no. Hey, here's my thing. As long as the league is in agreement and player safety is being stressed, I'd rather have that than them changing the different tackling rules. I mean, hey, get better helmets. Let's start hitting people again. That's what I kind of see it.
Mr. Scott.
Well, I've been a proponent of, I watch these guys, and I've been to some games at the new stadium, the Vikings, and these people don't have no pads on. I mean, they don't have no. I mean, I played in high school, and I mean, we had hip pads, we had knee pads, we had big shoulder pads. They don't have nothing. I mean, they get out there and then they wonder why they're having all these injuries. So I don't know why they don't have any protection for what.
Well, they don't hit in practice anymore.
Well, it's really getting to be not football. I mean,
well, even in the games, though, a lot of them don't wear the pads that used to be worn typically.
They do not wear that stuff.
No knee pads.
Right there. He just the receivers and everybody just had their pants on. They didn't have anything on their knees or anything on their thighs or hips. So, I mean, if that's the way they want to do it, that's with all the salaries they're paying these guys and all this. To me, that part is kind of mystifying to me.
Yeah, but I think that's the player's choice. If they wanted to pad them, they could.
Yeah.
But they don't want to sacrifice the speed.
The speed, yeah.
Yeah, that a lot of that is player's choice, like you said. Mr. Scott, which relocated running back do you project will have the best season in 2024?
Well, the great Derrick Henry. I mean, there's no question about it. The great Derrick Henry is going to take Baltimore over the top, and that's odds-on favorite right now. I mean, there's nobody else out there. Derrick Henry takes them over the top, period.
Ooh, okay. All right. What do you say, Demetrius?
I think Derrick Henry will help Baltimore a lot, but my answer is actually Joe Mixon. I think what's happening down in Houston, Joe Mixon is a great fit. And to go with what they're doing, and I don't disagree with you about Derrick Henry. I don't think it's that cut and dry. It's all Derrick Henry. He's got a lot of miles on his tires, man. He does. And Lamar Jackson runs a lot too. So I don't know that he's going to get as much of the workload. Certainly
May not need
nothing.
to.
Well, he
May not
won't.
need
Right,
to.
you're right. It's a
May
good
not
thing.
need to.
Nothing compared to what he did in Tennessee. But I think the question is about taking over the top. I think as much as Stephon Diggs is going to help, the addition of Joe Mixon opens up that Houston offense now.
And
They're
I
downright
did
scary.
say running backs now. Don't get twisted with wide receivers.
No. I'm just saying Mixon is going to be, in addition to other things they did, Mixon opens up that Houston offense now to where you take some of the pressure off the second-year guy who was rookie of the year. Houston's going to be dangerous. And
Yeah.
Baltimore was already good, and their RB1 is still called Lamar Jackson. Sorry. RB1 in Baltimore is Lamar Jackson. Joe Mixon is going to open up that Houston offense.
Don, which running back do you think is going to be the best in which running back do you think is going to be the best in 2024 for the new team?
Well, I think that both Henry and Mixon are both great additions to their teams. I think Mixon will be probably a better fit just because he's got some support coming with him too. I mean, Baltimore is great as it is, but the Texans pulled a lot of surprises last year, and they just got stronger. And so I'm going to give it just a slight edge to Mixon over Henry in this one. I'm looking forward to seeing Houston. I think there's a conspiracy for the Texans to capture all these disgruntled Cowboy fans. So it could happen.
Well, I'm going to ask you about that next. We're going to talk about the Texans. What do you think there, Dave?
Well, Baltimore is a great place for somebody like Derrick Henry. The only thing is his age. How much more gas does he have in the tank? But they have the type of offense where he should thrive. But then Gus Edwards might be interested going from Baltimore over to the Chargers. But then it's his pass catching. Is he going to be able to have all of it? But who I'm really curious about is how is Saquon Barkley going to do in Philadelphia? Because with his previous team, they were dependent. He was the only weapon they had on offense.
Yep.
But if he stays healthy, how's he going to look in a more balanced offense? So I'll go with I'll take a flyer on Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, that's a really good question, by the way, James, because Josh Jacobs in Green Bay is going to be interesting. I think DeAndre Swift is going to give the Bears something they didn't have. I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers with the Vikings.
Aaron Jones. Yeah, Aaron Jones is going to be Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is actually going to be really good with the Vikings. That's another one.
Aaron Jones.
Yeah. I like Aaron Jones. That's a great pickup, actually.
Okay, the Texans, Dave, they made NFL history. They're the first team to add players who respectfully had 10-plus sacks. Danielle Hunter, 1,000-yard plus rusher, Joe Mixon, and 100-plus receptions, Stephon Diggs. So, Dave, are the Texans the best team in Texas on paper or with genuine talent?
Past performance is not a guarantee of future future performance there. So,
you don't
all these guys going to do everything what they've done before?
Yeah.
They've shown that they're
right.
What?
You really believe that with these three guys?
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
I mean, are all of these guys? They've all shown that they're capable of accomplishing all this. And so, and I think Houston, I mean, for me, I thought that they were the most underrated team last year. I think that they played well above a lot of people's expectations, and they've really they've done a lot to be right in there. I think that they're going to be right there in the playoff hunt. But let's see if all of this happens. Are all these guys going to have, Hunter, is he going to have over 10 sacks? Is Mixon going to have over 1,000 yards? Is Diggs going to have over 100 receptions without uh, uh, disorienting his team, the rest of his team? We'll see. And I think that they are very well improved, but during training camp, let's see how they look. Does anybody get injured? How does everything come together? And on paper, it looks great. But just because all these guys had these achievements in the past, I don't think it's a guarantee that they're all going to equal those marks this year.
So you're on paper, but you're not sure about the genuine talent.
Yeah, how does it all come together? It's like Diggs. I mean, they gave up on him for 2 teams now. Have taken big hits on him, and I forget how many millions of dollars of dead money that Buffalo, it was Buffalo, right?
Yeah, we had it on last week. I think it was like
Yeah,
31 million or something like that.
Yeah, and you don't take a dead money hit like that for a talented player like that for no reason.
Dave, do you remember some team paying a guy, what was it, 40-some million dollars, so that we would only have to pay him 1.2?
Yeah, some guy in Denver. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's not looking
Well, it's
good.
the same thing. That's something to TBD. Let's see how it all works.
Don, what's your thoughts here? Are the Texans the best team in Texas on paper or genuine talent?
I'm going to say they're the best team in Texas because of heart. I think that they're up until now they didn't really have any superstars. I mean, Stroud was a rookie, and now we know what he is, but they didn't have a team full of superstars. They just played well as a team. And so I think now that they have some names coming in, I think they're making the statement they might be the best team on paper, and it might be the best team talent-wise too, because that Dallas is always in disarray. They win 4 or 5 games, and people start talking Super Bowl. But I think the Texans show what happens when you have a general manager who's not the owner. You cut down on that owner interference. So I think the Texans will be the team in Texas.
Mr. Scott, what's your thoughts here?
On
the Texans, are they the best team in Texas on paper? Or
boy, yeah, they look good. I talked to my buddies down there, and they're saying, yeah, they're for real now. The Diggs acquisition, it's a lot of buzz down there. And Stroud, boy, it seems like there's no way to go but up. So yeah, they're on my board. They're young. Boy, and the acquisitions, I hate to see, the guy leave the Vikings. Boy, he was just tremendous, a beast. Really, really hated to see that. So, yeah, Houston, they're going to be on my board. I wonder, do they play the Lions? If they're on the Lions, boy, that's a gimme right there. I'm hoping, yeah.
Completely unnecessary. That's okay.
Go ahead, Demetrius.
My favorite part of the question is in Texas. That's great. So if I rank the teams in Texas, I do have the Texans 1. I would put the Arlington Renegades 2, the San Antonio Brahmas 3, and then something between the Houston Roughnecks and the Dallas Cowboys at 4. You know how I feel about the Texans. Dave's point is legit. I would argue if Stephon Diggs didn't get escorted out of Buffalo because of attitude, not talent. I think organizationally, I happen to be a big D'Amico Ryans fan. I'm going to say this. Danielle Hunter, I think Danielle Hunter might be a good football player. Danielle Hunter is a very good football player. He is a professional pass rusher. Daniil Hunter will have double-digit sacks. I'll bet you a case of beer right now on the Sports Crib, on the wax, that Daniil Hunter double-digit sacks. And I already said how I feel about Mixon. If he doesn't give you 1,000, he's going to give you a scrimmage yard number that you like, because he's going to catch passes out of the backfield. 850 on the ground might be more realistic. He's going to get you 1,300 yards from scrimmage. So I do think sometimes past performance isn't indicative of future returns. In this case, especially with Daniil Hunter, book it. I like Joe Mixon, and I think that Stephon Diggs' issue in Buffalo was organizationally. Might have been personally with Josh Allen, but it was something to do with the scheme and how he was being used. It wasn't.
He has the talent.
It wasn't that his skills fell off. Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of DeMeco Ryans as a leader, as a coach. I think you walk into that culture and that environment and you get the best out of Stephon Diggs, they're going to be scary. Because Daniil Hunter's
and Diggs, he comes in with the honeymoon. See, he's a honeymoon type guy. His first year there, he's going to come in and really make a big splash. See, he knows how this thing works.
And he's got something to prove. He's got a chip on his shoulder. Right. He's got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And Daniil's just going to get after the quarterback. Daniil Hunter's a professional pass rusher. I don't care where you line him up, what team he gets to the quarterback. He's really good. I really wanted my team to go after him, but we took Davenport instead.
He didn't want to go there.
We took Davenport instead. No, he went home. Yeah, we know what that was about.
He wouldn't go there.
He wanted to go back to Texas.
So, Demetrius.
Yes.
Which relocated quarterback do you project will have the best season in 2024?
I love Mr. Scott, but the answer is Kirk Cousins. They've got weapons down there, and he's walking into a system where he's got all the tools. He's got Bijan, he's got Pitts, he's got the tools there. He walks into Drake London's a really good receiver. He's walking into a really nice situation in Atlanta, and I think he went to Michigan State, so I love him. He is, I believe we call him the banker, because he just prints money. He's been in this league printing money for like a decade now, to the tune of like $230 million. Kirk Cousins is going to be a phenomenal fit in Atlanta. And I don't like Baker. I think that division is there. And I'm not even, Reggie ain't even here, so I don't have to suck up to Reggie. I love Kirk Cousins and the fit in Atlanta. He walks into a great situation. Good for him. His wife's back home, so mama's happy. The bank is happy, right? I think Kirk Cousins walks into a great situation.
Well, he's still immobile. He still has no mobility.
He's always been immobile.
Statuesque.
Hasn't stopped him from stacking up that money.
He's always been immobile.
You loved him 6 months ago. Now you got another.
And Mr. Scott, you gonna be the first one on our next topic too. But Dave, what did you think about who's going to be? I'm going to ask Don first because I know what your answer is going to be, Dave. So I'm going to ask Don first.
Russ.
Don, which relocated quarterback do you project will have the best season in 2024? Demetrius says it's going to be Kirk Cousins. Who do you think?
Well, since Aaron Rodgers didn't get to play, does he still count? Did he get a mulligan from
No, Ayahuasca's not included in this
from
one.
the bench to the lineup, from the training room to the lineup.
No, just top of my head, I think I don't have a whole lot of faith that Kirk Cousins will ever, reach a Super Bowl or anything like that. But he might be a better fit where he is now than last year. So I'll go with that. I mean, he's got some weapons on offense. We know that. So hopefully that will open up the offense for him. So, yeah, I'll go with Cousins as well.
Oh, okay. All right, Dave.
Russell.
Well, the Steelers managed 10 wins with between Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph. And so with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields backing them up, can they match that? And I would say that Russell, he has an opportunity to kind of redeem himself because the Denver there was something going on, I think, between the ownership or the management and Russell Wilson, because they were really throwing him under the bus even before the new coach got there. He was being thrown under the bus. He doesn't get along with the players. He doesn't do this. He has an office, and then the new coach takes his office away. And all along, Kenny Pickett had an office in Pittsburgh as a rookie. Nobody talked about it, but he had
was Kenny Pickett doing with an office?
Well, because for the Steelers, he would go up and watch film. So they gave him an office and set him up, and Minka would go in there, and other players would go in there, and there was no big deal made out of it. So I think that Russell Wilson, he's 35. I mean, this is, I think, his last chance to, really show that he can play for a few more years. So I would say that Russell's in a position. Of course, the Steelers got to round out that wide receiver room.
All right, Mr. Scott.
Cousins is not a playoff quarterback. Okay, he will do great during the season. 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns. But the playoffs, he won one playoff game. One. For all that money, the bags of money, he just robbed us, robbed all that money. He
just got 100 million guaranteed.
Had more money. Yeah, he's a banker. He's the banker. And so never done anything in the playoffs. I don't know how he warrants that kind of a money, but
he's the printing office.
Exactly. He's the mint, is what he is. Exactly. He just prints his money in the basement.
I'm telling you. Yeah. So who do you think is going to be the best relocated quarterback then, Mr. Scott?
And this really pains me to say this. I mean, it really does. But I think Russell Wilson. I mean, I think that, the team, it's behind him. The coach, I'll go along with that. I mean, but I think that's the one that I think that he can really, and I say this with the grain,
you regret it now, don't you? Regret saying
words.
It now,
I mean, my mouth is moving, but my heart's not in the words. But I think that could be a real sleeper type of a thing with Pittsburgh and Russell Wilson. I really do. With Fields backing him up too, I think that's. But I mean, this is Tomlin's last stand. So I mean, either this works. If it doesn't work,
you've been standing for over a decade.
Still trying to get rid of this guy. Why are we working so hard to get rid of Mike Tomlin? I don't understand that at all.
They want him in Minnesota. It's obvious.
Oh, that might be it. Yeah.
So no, that's my stance on it. I think Wilson in Pittsburgh, that's gonna be very interesting. That's the thing I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna have him on my board actually.
Okay, Mr. Scott, NFL.com said that these are the 5 biggest needs for the various teams. I'm going to start with the Vikings. Quarterback, interior offensive line, edge rusher, wide receiver, and defensive tackle. Mr. Scott, do you agree that those are the 5 biggest needs for the Vikings?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but then you got to sign Jefferson. So, I mean, the thing is, he should have.
You see, I got wide receiver up there.
He's wide receiver. They should have signed him and had that done. But now with the quarterback situation being uneven, I think this is very questionable if he's going to be back. He might even be into some kind of a trade for a quarterback. I mean, they're really this general manager is really on the hot seat. I mean, he's got to figure this thing out. They got to get a quarterback. They got to make Jefferson happy with the quarterback that they get. They lost Hunter. They got to replace that. Their offensive line has always been shaky. So this is going to be on, Mensa and his analytics. I don't know where the great Bill Carroll is. He's another one that's ducking because he thinks that Mensa was so great and that he, can figure things out with the analytics. Well, we'll see. We shall see. But they really have to make a home run. And then Mensa's last number one pick, Lewis Sign, never played. Never, and he wasn't hurt. He never played because he couldn't get off the practice squad. Number one draft pick.
Wow.
Well, hey, Bill is doing a draft thing for 17 weeks or so. I think he has another 4 weeks.
Another
left
4
or
weeks
something
left,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah. So Don,
Another guy avoiding me. This is the thing. They just don't want to be, Demetrius and the man from Georgia. I mean,
well, Reggie will be back in 2
why
weeks.
such fear? Why fear? Why such fear?
I'm going to send you their schedule, Mr. Scott, so we can see whether or not you're ducking them.
We're not all big time like Mr. Scott. Some of us have real jobs we have to work. We don't get to chill.
Okay. So Don, let's talk about the Cowboys here. They said the Cowboys' biggest 5 needs are offensive tackle, running back, interior offensive line, defensive tackle. No, one is offensive tackle. Sorry, offensive tackle, running back, interior lineman, defensive tackle, and wide receiver. Don, do you agree?
I wholeheartedly agree. That's what they need. What will Jerry Jones do? He'll go get a linebacker. he'll get something that's or he'll get or he'll draft a quarterback. I mean, who knows? But yeah, they do need some help on the offensive line, most definitely. I would say that wide receiver is probably their least. I mean, they have some pretty good receivers, but yeah, they could use a offensive lineman big time, and they need to get another running back or two.
Donna, I've been hearing some rumblings about CD is a little disappointed. Is he going to pull a Stephon Diggs?
I don't know. I think I think he had a difficult year at the end of the year last year. He was had a case of the dropsies, and so but that stuff sometimes it's just mental. You have to block it out and go keep grinding and hopefully you learn how to catch again. So I think Lamb will have a decent season. Like I said, the wide receivers, the guys that they have, in the 2 and 3 slots, they're pretty. They're not star material, but they're very dependable. So I'd say go out and get your offensive line first of all, because you got to protect that.
Okay, Demetrius, the 5 guys for the Lions: cornerback, edge rusher, safety, wide receiver, and offensive tackle.
Okay, first of all, gotta acknowledge Mr. Scott and I are wearing the exact same shirt. Not the exact same shirt, exact same pose. Sonny Liston's worst nightmare. But that's the GOAT. And I had to acknowledge that since I saw his shirt. Here's the thing, and Mr. Scott's gonna love this. The Lions don't have any needs. We could take the field right now. We're ready to face anybody right now. We're going into the draft, best player available. Now, the Cam Sutton thing hurt us depth-wise at corner. But we made a trade for Carlton Davis. We got Amik Robinson from the Raiders. We brought back a solid rookie. We're fine. Emmanuel Mosley's back. We brought back a rookie Vildor. Now, if you tell me where do I go, I know Brad Holmes, the 2023 Executive of the Year, is going to take the best player available. There are people who think we need wide receivers, but we don't because our offense isn't structured that way. Option 1 is St. Brown. Option 2 is actually Sam Laporta, the tight end. Option 3 is probably a running back named Jahmyr Gibbs. Option 4 is Jameson Williams. So the 5th receiver is not a need for us. We got Khalif Raymond and we brought back Donovan Peoples-Jones. Wide receiver is not a need. Where we have any concern, to me, is the interior offensive line. Our guards are 32 and 35. We got a Pro Bowler at center, even though he's 27, he's hurt a lot. So look for us to draft a guard center combo guy. Um, um, Jackson Powers Johnson, I think, is out of Washington, maybe. Would be a great dude if he's there at 29. I wouldn't be shocked if we traded out and drafted 3 guys in the second round because Brad Holmes is that good. We don't have needs. These ain't the old Lions. There's no like, oh, we got to fill it. We don't fill anything. We can take the field and play with anybody right now. We replaced the left guard that was a Pro Bowler with another Pro Bowler, an older Pro Bowler. We filled our needs at corner. We got Davenport from Minnesota. We got DJ Reader from Cincinnati. We bolstered our front line. We got a solid group of young linebackers. It's a different kind of Lions team, man. We don't have any needs. We're taking best player available. I mean, the only thing I rule out is we won't draft a quarterback, probably won't draft a running back. Everything else is open. Best player available at 29, best player available at 61. That's how you build out your team. Because similar to Mr. Scott, we got to pay St. Brown. We got to pay Goff. We're going to have to pay Hutch soon. We got a bunch of people we got to pay. The best free agents are guys on our team already. So we don't, I mean, I guess you have to pick 5 spots. Interior O-line, sure. Corner, maybe. Everything else is a luxury. We don't have glaring needs like the Vikings. We just don't.
But you left out one critical thing. One critical thing. You have the same coach. Okay?
The guy who finished third for coach of the year
that had a big lead, that had a big lead over the 49ers. And what does he do? He goes for it on fourth down.
And it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do.
What does he do after that?
Josh Reynolds should have caught that pass.
He does it again. He does it again.
So, Mr. Scott, what do you have to say about the 49ers that blew that fourth quarter lead?
Dan Campbell didn't lose the NFC Championship game. 3 plays made by 3 players
in the first half.
If Josh Reynolds catches the pass, game over.
It again.
If Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't fumble, game over. And if Kendall Vildor knocks down a pass instead of letting it bounce off his head, game over. 3 plays, all made by players. That coach the same way he coached all year. That got us to the point.
Take the point.
That's a short-sighted person who doesn't know the Lions football. That's all that is.
Okay.
That's an easy button answer. He doesn't.
We're gonna have to get James a striped shirt. Get him a whistle.
I'm cool. People know what they're talking about. When people talk about my team and they don't know what they're talking about, I can't handle it.
All right. So, Dave, do the Steelers have enough capital to trade up? Ryan Clark says that quarterback Josh Fields, he needs the brotherhood culture of the Steelers. Dave, what's up with the Steelers? We got any latest signings? We looking at anybody? Heard about a couple wide receivers we might be looking at. What's going on?
Yeah, well, the most latest signing is they signed Matthew Wright, a kicker. He's been with the team off and on, and he's kicked 13 field goals for them in the past whenever Boz has been injured. But they did sign Michael Pruitt, a tight end that played 2 years with Atlanta the last 2 years. I wish Reggie was on here because I'd like to hear his take on him. He's 32, but my sense is that maybe they're bringing in some players that are familiar with Arthur Smith and his offensive scheme to almost be like a mentor for like Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington, to bring these guys along. Because at 32, he's not a long-term fixture. So this just might be a short-term rental. In terms of, does the Steelers have enough capital to trade up? Maybe not a whole lot of spots, but they do have like 9 draft picks in 2025. They have 3 7-round draft picks in 2025. They traded away their 6th in order to get Justin Fields, and depending on if the conditions are met, that could turn into a 4th.
Yeah.
But they could. But then the real question is maybe will they trade down? And the Steelers have not traded down in the first round since 2001. And that's whenever they got a hold of Casey Hampton. They traded with the Jets, and they had the number 16, and then they dropped back, and they still got Casey Hampton. And the reason is that might increase their draft capital. The tackle class is supposed to be pretty deep, and there's some, they're talking about wanting to draft a tackle so that Broderick Jones can shift over to the left to his, where he played mostly in college. But they need a center. And then the question is if they do that, can they afford to wait until day 2 to draft a center? Because right now, if Nate Herbig is their starting center right now, and he doesn't have a lot of experience at that. So that's another big need, as well as wide receiver and slot corner. So they have a lot of needs. So the argument may be trade back, where you can increase your draft capital and then still be able to get some of the players that you're targeting. In terms of Justin Fields and the brotherhood, that it has to work two ways. You can have a great environment, but if you don't fit in with that environment, it's just not going to work. But from all indications, he said that, hey, he's always admired Russell Wilson. He kind of tried to pattern his play after Russell Wilson. He's been working out with some different Steeler players, but also he's been working out with Chase Claypool, well, people, is what I heard. But we'll see. He's still a young guy, but it's more than just having a good, as they say, a brotherhood culture. Well, you have to want to be a brother, right? And if you don't, it doesn't matter how good of a brotherhood culture you have. But I suspect if they've done their due diligence and the Steelers believe he's somebody that can fit in. And I have great hopes for him, because Russell Wilson's not going to be around for long, I don't think. Maybe they'll sign him to something after this season. But right now, they wanted to have Kenny Pickett to stay, but he wanted to go. So now they got Justin Fields. And I think that might actually be an upgrade.
Okay. Dave, final thoughts?
Yeah. Well, two things. First, I just wanted to mention I'm going to be gone for the next 3. I'm going to miss the next 3 shows. So Anthony, have at it.
We got to get Bo back too.
Yeah, and if there's any change to my schedule, I'll let you know. But for my final thoughts, I watched an interview with Sage Steele. She was a longtime sportscaster with ESPN, and she had gotten into a row where she started talking about the trans issue, and she was kind of sticking up for women, believing that women should compete against women in a lot of these sports. And she was being kind of run over the coals with ESPN, and there were some other positions that she took that ESPN did not go along with. But she had she settled a lawsuit, a free speech lawsuit, because what they didn't realize is in Connecticut they were hammering her because she was criticizing the company, and they kind of hammered her for that. But it turned out that Connecticut had some law where you were allowed to speak out against your company. And so she settled her lawsuit. And I just wanted to point her out, whether you agree with all of her positions or not, she stuck to her principles. And she seems to have been very consistent with her principles. And I really admire that. And she separated from ESPN, and she's in her 50s now. But, she had said that was her lifelong dream. She started before there was even any women sportscasters saying that, hey, I want to be a sportscaster. And she went out and did it. So I just want to give a shout out. And it was an interesting interview. She sounds like a very, very strong woman.
Yeah. I've had a 35-year crush on Sage Steele. Don, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Well, I know I have two Steeler fans with me tonight. And so today we were talking about, in my office, we're talking about track and field. And we're talking about some of the great track and field athletes that have come through the state of Texas. There's quite a few. But I wanted to give you all some stats. And this guy actually played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm assuming you and Dave are old school Steelers, right? For several years.
Love the history. Yeah.
Okay. So at the Texas High School track championships, I'm not going to give you the year because then I'll give you the guy's name. Okay. So I'm reading this off. He won the discus with the throw of 154 feet, 9 inches. He won the shot put, 56-3. He won the 100, 9.9.
Wow.
And the 200, 21.8. So he's throwing, he's running, he's fast, and his relay team got 4th.
Franco,
Guess who it is? Is that what we're supposed to do?
No, out of Texas. This is a Texas guy.
oh
Those
yeah,
are Texas high school records.
yeah. Franco's out of New Jersey.
Yeah, none of these are Texas records, but this guy has he had some skills.
Well, I mean, Franco was quite an athlete.
Yeah, but he was out of New Jersey.
But he's saying that all these records aren't from Texas. They're from all.
Yeah, this is
could be anywhere, right?
Okay.
I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. He played at Baylor.
Oh.
Yeah.
Baylor. No, and I'm going to kick myself when I hear the answer to this.
What decade did he play in? Give him a shot at this, man.
70s, late or 70s, 80s.
70s, 80s.
He's not the guy that got busted for the dope.
Oh, that was a good turn.
I don't know about that.
That's a great turn. I didn't see that coming.
70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Mid 70s. I think he played maybe 80, 81 at one time.
Ooh.
Yeah, I want to say Frenchie, but I don't know what college he went to.
Well, I'm not going to take any more time because I know that other people have their final thoughts. His name is Frank Pollard.
Oh, Frank Pollard. I would have never guessed that. I would have never guessed that.
I would have either not going to be.
Well, see, when people think of Baylor running backs, they go to Walter Abercrombie, but no, this is Frank Pollard. He was, I think Abercrombie backed him up his freshman year, maybe, but yeah, he was
played around the same time. They both played for the Steelers.
Yeah, that's good stuff, Don.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you, Don.
Appreciate that, Mr. Scott.
Well, just briefly, I guess I've kind of looked at, and this is something, Demetrius had said, I think on one of the other programs, the great Demetrius, about gambling in sports. I mean, I think that this thing is really becoming a real issue. As I look at how these things play out, actually right now I'm watching the Timberwolves playing Denver. They're in Denver, and it's
who'd you take?
We
know who we took.
My team, but and it just seems to be so suspect. I mean, some of the things, especially the calls, and I just wonder how far this thing is going to go. Now, it's not legal here in Minnesota yet. This, but I mean, you can go. I mean, I got a guy down the street. I mean,
right.
It just makes me back to the thing of my brother and the guy at the barber shop. Oh man, they got into it with the Leonard and Hearns. man, it just was getting ridiculous, man. Every time he'd go in there, barber, up it. Let's up it then. Let's up it. And every time it just kept going, kept going. And so finally I talked to my brother. I said, how much is it? I said, have you got that amount of money? What if you lose? I'm like, man, this is ridiculous. So we were at the game. We were at the fight at a closed circuit kind of a thing, back and forth. And the barber man was sitting right in front of us. And we're sitting there. And all of a sudden, Leonard hit Hearns, and Leonard raised his hands up. And my brother jumped up, and that dude, just like all the air, the barber man, all the air came out of it. All the air just came out of it. But I see these things now, and I'm just, it's so open. It's so, I don't know what to think about it. I mean, I think it's really getting to a point where it's affecting the integrity of the game. I mean, I really do, with the refs and injuries and can't play the next day, resting and so that aspect of it is I've kind of just backed off of it because it doesn't seem legitimate.
To your point, Anthony, less than 20 years ago, the Steelers were forced to reorganize their ownership because the family owned a dog track and they had 49% interest in a casino. And the NFL forced them to reorganize where one of the brothers, a couple of the brothers had to go out of the ownership group. And now you have these sports books that are official sponsors of the teams of the NFL, et cetera.
They're in bed. They're in bed now.
Totally in bed with them, yeah.
Demetrius, I have to give you the final thoughts. Since you haven't been around for a while here, I know you got a lot of things stored up back there, but give us your best final thoughts.
So you guys know how I feel about baseball in general, and obviously baseball is my thing, but deeper than that, I have an incredible passion for Negro League baseball. And there's a museum in Kansas City. If you have a couple hours there, we need more than a couple hours. I've been to it 3 times. It's amazing. And I want to give something between thanks and kudos to a video game company called EA Sports, right? They make the video games. And so they finally worked out an agreement with the Negro League baseball museums to include Negro League players in the number 1 baseball video game called MLB The Show. That's year, cool. Yeah, they did a thing called Storylines. They took like 8 players, Satchel Paige, Rube Foster, Martin Dingle, some great players that people just don't know about. And I've been wanting this for years, and I finally got to understand why it took so long. Some of the data and the stats for Double Duty Radcliffe and Cool Papa Bell and Buck O'Neil, they just didn't have it. So they didn't know how to rate these guys and put them in the games because they couldn't gather all their stats. And credit to the Negro League Baseball Museum, they started getting scorecards from people's great grandkids and tracking down game stuff because there was kind of like 2 Negro Leagues. There was the early one, and then it kind of ran out of business, for lack of a better term, and then it came back again. They started getting these stats and they shared them with EA Sports. Last year they put 8 guys in the game. This year they added more. And it's an educational thing. The way they did it is really cool because they put old stadiums and you can play in stadiums that don't exist anymore. Forbes Field. Forbes, is that Pittsburgh? No.
Forbes Field, yeah.
Forbes Field. You can play in Ebbets Field. And they got the real dimensions of these old parks. And Satchel can pitch against Babe Ruth. And for a guy like me, it got me back into this video game that I hadn't played or bought probably in a decade. My son tipped me off to it and said, hey, did you hear about this last year? So I got last year's, super amped. So I'm like a 55-year-old man now playing video games again. and it's outstanding. The graphics are great. The characters, the storylines, it's a phenomenal thing. And it's introducing a bunch of kids that had no idea who these guys were. No idea. They're people in Major League Baseball. A guy who played for the Indians, a pitcher, Bob Feller. Bob Feller said that Josh Gibson was the greatest player he'd ever seen, black or white. Full stop, right? And these guys were phenomenal. And some of them, just because of timing, never got to play in the bigs. Satch came up in his mid 40s. Satch was dealing at 47, 48. There are people who say Satch lied about his age. He was pitching for the Indians and was 52 years old. Right? And this stuff is in this game now that 9, 10, 12-year-old kids of every color are playing, and they're learning about it. And
I have a book
blows me away.
Where Bob Feller and Satch did barnstorming.
Barnstorming. Yep.
And I mean, this book is phenomenal because Satch would bat, Bob Feller would bat, and they would pitch against each other all the time going on, and they made more money doing that than regular.
Yeah, and they did a barnstorming kind of all-star game where the Negro League All-Stars played Major League All-Stars. Pretty good Major League All-Star roster. They played a game at Comiskey in 1936. Sold out the place, standing room only. Sold it out, and I think Feller and Satch, 2-1. Satch won the game. Apparently, they were just dealing, and there were some of the greatest hitters in baseball were playing. And Satch and Feller went 2-1. And I think the Negro League team won it in the 9th inning or something. But this thing is a great tool to educate like kids who still love baseball about something they don't know about. Now you can go to the library and get the books. And I've been reading about it. I could do an hour on Negro League baseball. And it might bore some people, but I'm really passionate about it. And I'm just thrilled, man, that in 2024 this video game has incorporated this. And it's so well done. It's so well done. The storylines, the graphics, the old parks, the old jerseys, everything. It's fantastic. So that's just an exciting thing to me as someone who loves Negro League baseball. Everybody doesn't get a chance to get to Kansas City, and it is.
That was that the Monarchs?
The Kansas City Monarchs was the team there. That's where the league was founded. A guy named Rube Foster is really kind of the key guy in starting it and building it. There were teams all over. Detroit had a team called the Detroit Stars. Newark had a team called the Eagles. Pittsburgh had two teams, the Grays and the Crawfords, right? Which were dominant, by the way. Those were the two teams because of the two guys that owned them. But like Anthony said, these guys would make money barnstorming, man. And people would come in and down in Cuba, it was Cuba. It might have been Venezuela. I could have the wrong country. President of that country paid, I think it was Satch and a guy named Donaldson, and said, get as many guys as you can. Paid them more money than they made in a season to play like 10 games down in Cuba. They all went down there. A bunch of the Grays and Crawfords went down there. Grays and Crawford's story is very interesting because the two owners were rivals in Pittsburgh, competitive rivals in business. And they started competing with each other with these teams. One guy's name was Cumberland Posey, and the other guy's name escapes me. But
wasn't there a guy, Greenlee?
Greenlee, that's the other guy. Greenlee and Posey were these like rivals, right? And all these stories are built into a video game. They got these vignettes where it tells the story of these guys. And by the way, there's a cool documentary called The League that would be, I saw it when it first came out. It's been around a while. You can find it on Netflix, whatever. It's called The League. Phenomenal. Like a 1-hour documentary. Tells a lot of this stuff. But I love that EA Sports, man, decided, I don't know who made the decision. Whoever did it, kudos. It's an awesome thing. If you're not into video games, watch the documentary. They're both great.
All right, guys. Well, hey, another great show. See, you and Mr. Scott are getting along beautifully as always.
He got the Ali shirt memo, so we're good.
Wasn't he Cassius Clay when he fought Sonny Liston?
At this date, this was the first Clay. This was the first Liston fight. Yeah, he was still Cassius Clay at this point.
Still Cassius, yeah.
Telling Sonny Liston to get his ass up because he's fake.
And Dave's going to be ducking. So, Dave's ducking. The guy from Georgia, he ducks. Demetrius ducks. It's very interesting. I have this big vacation, and I'm going to be gone. And this is a way of avoidance. But that's fine.
The brother's going to Tunisia. What are we talking about?
He couldn't go far enough.
He might get internet in Tunisia and get on the podcast. I'm sure. Sue's got better stuff for him to do in Tunisia than to be getting on this podcast, man.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you.
Good to see you.
Dave, you have a great
have a good trip, Dave. Yes, sir.
I look forward to some stories when you get back. Mr. Scott, did you say you were going away too?
No, I had a meeting last Friday with the mayor of Minneapolis, so I'll have to
Oh wow,
tell you about it
name dropping.
sometime.
Yeah, yeah, we want to
Uh,
hear about that next. I'm showing up
Private
next week to
meeting
hear
with
that
the
story.
mayor.
yeah.
Love it.
All right, guys. See
All right, guys.
everybody except for Dave next
Next
week.
week, yes,
And
sir.
hey, have a good
All
one.
right.
Be safe. And we're gonna have to get together and do one of those baseball shows. You guys.
You know I'm in. You know I'm in.
Joe Lewis said you can run, but you can't hide.
Yeah, you know I'm in. Just send me the link on the baseball show. You know I'm in on that.
All right, guys.
Take care, guys.
All right, guys.
Have a great week and a great weekend. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Night, guys.